Our fifth function of the participle is the genitive absolute. And so just to give a quick review, there are 5 functions of the participle. Our first is the adverbial participle. And this is when that participle is going to modify a verb. The second and third function is going to be your attributive participle and your substantival participle. And that's where that participle is either modifying a noun or even acting like a noun itself. Your fourth example is going to be that periphrastic construction, and that's with the participle functioning alongside of the verb aimé, the indicative form of aimé. And that's going to look like an adverbial participle, but you're going to have to drop that while-ing. The fifth function of the participle is what we call the genitive absolute. And you can follow along with about the genitive absolute in Mounce 30.9 through 30.13. But first, let's think about the adverbial participle. Your adverbial participle, that participle is going to modify the noun. And so our sentence that we looked at on Saturday, Jesus apelthen lagon tauta. Jesus departed while saying these things. Now note here that the actor, Jesus, he's doing both the action of the main verb and the action of the participle. So Jesus is both departing and he's saying. And also note that the participle is in the nominative case. It's in the nominative case because Jesus is nominative. It's the subject of the sentence. So Jesus apelthen lagon tauta. Jesus is both departing and saying. That's how a normal adverbial participle will function. And most adverbial participles are going to be nominative because it's going back and modifying that subject of the verb. And so for adverbial participles, that the adverbial participle is nominative, then we know that the subject of both the participle and the main verb are the same. But when we want to express 2 actors on the stage at the same time, the participle has to be another case other than the nominative. And so if we want to introduce another actor and another action, we have to change the case. And so when we put the participle in the genitive case, we're going to separate the actor of the genitive participle from the actor of the main verb. And so here is our sentence again. Jesus apelthen to Petru legantas tauta. And so we've introduced Peter, and now Peter's the one who's saying these things. And so note here that Peter is in the genitive form. And so our keyword for the genitive is up, but we're not going to use the key word anymore. The genitive just tells me that there's another actor, and it's the subject of that genitive participle, legantas. And so remember, this is our third declension. So sasia esoncia. So legantas is going to be our genitive form of that participle, present active participle, masculine genitive singular. So now Jesus isn't leaving saying these things, but it's Jesus left while Peter was saying these things. So when you think about a genitive absolute, the definition is that the noun or the pronoun are going to be in the genitive case. And it's going to be in association with the participle that's in the genitive case as well. And then we say that it's a genitive absolute because it stands absolutely. And what we mean by that is there's no grammatical connection to the genitive absolute with the rest of the sentence. So in Greek, there's no clear grammatical connection between the genitive absolute and the main clause. But in English, we need to introduce it with some type of conjunction. And so we're going to use while or after for the aorist tense. So that's it. That's the genitive absolute. And the genitive absolute it's not as common as your adverbial or your substantival or attributive participles, but it does occur pretty regularly. And when you come across this genitive absolute, again, it's going to throw you for a loop because you're going to see the genitive substantive, and you're going to try to translate that with that keyword of. You're going to see the genitive participle, which might look like a nominative if it's in the third declension, so that might confuse you. And then you may not realize that you're dealing with the genitive case participle, but when you do, just trying to put it together, what you need to do is, in the back of your mind, just realize that there's these two other categories of the participle. There's the periphrastic and the genitive absolute. And when that participle is just not making sense, just ask yourself, is this a periphrastic? Well, there's no use of a me here. Well, maybe it's a genitive absolute. Oh, okay, I see a noun that's in the genitive case and the participle's in the genitive case. So I think that might be going on here. So just keep that in mind as you work through participles. So before I end this video, just a quick review. 5 functions of the participle: our adverbial participle, our attributive participle, our substantival participle. Those 3 functions are probably going to be your primary functions of the participle. Your 4th function is going to be your periphrastic, and then your final function of the participle is going to be this genitive absolute. And it takes practice to be able to recognize these things. And so without further ado, make sure you review the next few videos that go over the workbook exercises.